In quiet study room. Noah, the sharp and curious young girl, lay fast asleep on a cushioned bench, her books scattered around her like a fortress of knowledge. Her father, Leon, sat at the desk, his quill scratching furiously across parchment as he organized lesson plans by the flickering light of a candle. The room was silent, save for the occasional rustle of paper and the steady rhythm of Noah's breathing. The door creaked open, and Rosweiss, the Dragon Queen, stepped inside. Her presence was as commanding as ever, her icy blue eyes scanning the room before landing on Leon. "Still awake?" she asked, her voice a mix of amusement and curiosity. "Noah's asleep, yet here you are, burning the midnight oil. Don't humans need rest?" Leon glanced up, his tired eyes meeting hers. "Noah's not like other kids. She's got a mind like a steel trap, sharp and quick. Simple teaching methods won't cut it for her. I'm organizing some advanced material so she can ace that exam next month." Rosweiss tilted her head, a sly smile playing on her lips. "Always the overachiever, aren't you? The dragon-slaying genius, top of his class, now reduced to a sleep-deprived tutor." Leon leaned back in his chair, a smirk tugging at his lips. "Hey, I'll have you know I graduated first in both written and practical exams. I didn't earn those scholarships by slacking off. And Noah? She's got my brilliance. It's only natural she's excelling." Rosweiss raised an eyebrow, her tone teasing. "Oh? So you're saying her intelligence comes from you? Not from, say, her environment or her own hard work?" Leon crossed his arms, his smirk widening. "Absolutely. She's got my genes, after all. I was a prodigy in my day, top of every class, highest honors, the works. Noah's just following in my footsteps. It's inevitable." Rosweiss chuckled, a low, melodic sound that sent a shiver down Leon's spine. "And yet, here you are, my prisoner. Funny how life works, isn't it?" Leon's smirk faltered for a moment, but he quickly recovered. "That was one time. One misstep, and now I'm stuck here, babysitting your adopted daughter. But even so, I'm making sure she gets the best education possible. She's going to be brilliant, just like her old man." Rosweiss stepped closer, her gaze lingering on him. "Perhaps fate has a sense of humor. Or perhaps it's giving you a chance to prove you're more than just a dragon slayer." Before Leon could respond, he reached for a small, fiery yellow pepper on the desk. "Mind if I?" he asked, holding it up. Rosweiss' eyes widened in alarm. "Leon, that's the Dragon Clan's yellow pepper. It's not meant for humans. It's..." But Leon had already popped it into his mouth. For a moment, there was silence. Then his face turned red, his eyes watering as he gasped for air. "Spicy. Water. Water," he choked out, fanning his mouth. Rosweiss sighed, stepping closer. "You humans are so reckless." She placed her icy hands on his cheeks, the coolness instantly soothing the burn. "Better?" Leon's breath slowed, his eyes locking onto hers. Her touch was gentle, her fingertips like a balm against his skin. It wasn't the sharp cold of ice but a soft, comforting coolness that seemed to seep into his very soul. Thank you," he stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. For a moment, they stood there, the air between them charged with an unspoken tension. Rosweiss' hands lingered on his face, her gaze searching his. Leon's heart raced, not from the spice this time, but from the proximity of the woman who had once been his enemy and now felt like something else entirely. Finally, Rosweiss pulled away, her usual composure returning. "You should get some rest," she said, her voice softer now. "And maybe lay off the peppers. If your throat gives out, you'll have to teach Noah in sign language." Leon chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck. "Yeah, got it." As Rosweiss turned to leave, Leon couldn't help but watch her go, a strange warmth settling in his chest. He shook his head, muttering to himself, "Wake up, Leon. She's the Dragon Queen. The one who trapped you here. Don't get carried away." But deep down, he knew something had shifted between them. And as he glanced at Noah, still peacefully asleep, he realized that perhaps the Silver Dragon Castle wasn't just a prison. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows of the Silver Dragon Castle, casting colorful patterns across the study room. Noah sat at the desk, her hands clasped tightly as she waited for her father, Leon, to review her test results. Leon, still rubbing his throat from the previous night's spicy mishap, sat across from her, holding the graded paper. "Noah," he began, his voice slightly hoarse, "the test you just took has been corrected. The full score is 100. Guess how much you got?" Noah hesitated, her brows furrowing in thought. 50, she ventured, her voice tinged with uncertainty. Leon smirked, shaking his head. 62 points. Higher than you expected, huh? 62? Noah repeated, her expression a mix of relief and disappointment. She stared at the paper, her lips pressed into a thin line. Leon leaned forward, studying her reaction. "Are you not satisfied with your grades? You've got high standards for yourself, kid. That's good. But 62 on your first try? That's pretty impressive." Noah nodded slowly, though her eyes still lingered on the paper. "Thanks," she murmured. Leon ruffled her hair affectionately. "Next, let's focus on these mistakes. We'll turn those 62 points into 100 in no time." As he spoke, a sudden coughing fit overtook him. He covered his mouth, his face turning red. "Sorry," he muttered between coughs. "Did I eat too much chili last night? My throat's killing me." Noah tilted her head, her sharp eyes narrowing. "You ate the Dragon Clan's yellow pepper, didn't you?" Leon chuckled weakly, scratching the back of his neck. "Yeah, well, I needed something to keep me awake while I was making your study plan. Turns out, it was a bit too effective." Noah's expression softened, and she reached into her bag, pulling out a small vial of red liquid. "This is, for you," she said, placing it on the table. Leon blinked, surprised. "For me?" Noah looked away, her cheeks tinged with pink. It was Mom who gave it to you, not me." Leon picked up the vial, a warm smile spreading across his face. "Tell your mom thank you for me, will you?" Noah nodded, still avoiding his gaze. Leon couldn't help but notice how much she reminded him of Rosweiss, cold and reserved on the surface, but with a hidden kindness that shone through in moments like these. As he sipped the remedy, the soothing liquid easing the itch in his throat, Leon felt a surge of pride. Noah was growing, not just in her studies, but in her ability to express herself, even if it was in her own quiet way. "All right," Leon said, setting the vial aside. "Let's continue learning." Noah straightened up, her determination returning. "Yes." As they dove back into the lesson, the atmosphere in the room felt lighter, warmer. The relationship between father and daughter had grown a little closer, forged not just by blood but by shared struggles, quiet gestures, and the unspoken understanding that they were in this together. And somewhere in the castle, Rosweiss watched from afar, a small smile playing on her lips. Perhaps, she thought, the strange little family they were building wasn't so bad after all. Noah's understanding and talent were truly exceptional. Leon had to keep moving forward without stopping to ensure he could keep up with her growth. Raising such an intelligent daughter was like nurturing a strong sapling. He had to continuously provide her with the nourishment and care she needed to grow into a towering tree. Fortunately, Leon had mastered efficient learning methods during his time at the Dragon Slaying Academy and had developed the habit of staying up late. Otherwise, he might have already fallen behind in meeting Noah's needs, and Rosweiss would surely have looked down on him. As he thought about this, Leon paused. He realized that he was starting to care more and more about Rosweiss' opinion of him. If the family dinner a few days ago had shown him that Rosweiss didn't entirely dismiss him, her recent comments about his weakened state had struck a nerve. Determined to prove himself, Leon had secretly begun working on strengthening his body and burning the midnight oil to prepare lessons for Noah. Leon scratched his nose and chuckled to himself. "Oomph, it's all for my daughter. It has nothing to do with that mother dragon." The words felt familiar, and he realized Rosweiss had said something similar during their encounter in the warehouse. Shaking his head, Leon refocused and continued preparing his lessons. By late night, past 11, drowsiness began to set in. Leon grabbed a chili pepper and took a bite, only to be met with the same intense spiciness as before. After gulping down some cold water, he set aside the tutoring materials and took out the herbs Anna had brought him during dinner. There were a dozen or so packages, but only 5 or 6 contained the herbs needed to prepare the long dolly tonic. Leon unpacked the corresponding herbs, some familiar from his time in the Empire, others unique to the Dragon Clan. Rubbing his hands together, he opened the herbal manual to the page detailing the long dolly recipe. Alright, let's get started. Leon began by mixing and crushing 2 types of herbs, then charring a specific herb to ashes and collecting the powder. He stored it in a bottle for later use. After cleaning the test tube, he continued reading. The next step is to mix these 3 herbs, then pour them into the upper clear liquid prepared by tianlan wood, stir well, and then. Leon studied the instructions carefully. How to separate the active substances from the mixed powder of several herbs. The book provides 2 methods. One is high-temperature separation, but this method has strict temperature requirements, and deviations, either high or low, are not allowed. The second is physical separation, using high-speed rotation to shake out the necessary active substances. However, the efficiency of physical separation is particularly low. Leon looked at the quantity of his herbs. Physical separation wouldn't be sufficient, and high-temperature separation required specialized equipment, like an alcohol lamp equipped with a fire elemental rune. But finding such tools in his room was impossible. Leon stood on the balcony, gazing sullenly at the distant dark clouds. "It's going to rain," he muttered. Today, Noah didn't come for tutoring. According to Rosweiss, she had a physical training session, so the tutoring was postponed to tomorrow. This gave Leon a day of personal time. In the morning, he attempted to concoct the dragon strength tonic following the instructions in the medicinal book, but it ended in failure. Leon had anticipated this and analyzed the reasons behind it. As the book stated, the process was extremely difficult, whether using high temperature or physical separation. The slightest mistake could lead to complete failure. If the temperature was too high, the nutrients in the medicinal residue would become inactive. If it was too low, refining enough residue was impossible. Physical separation required specialized instruments, and Leon's attempts without them proved futile. As he pondered, a bright flash of lightning lit up the sky, followed by a thunderous boom. Leon tilted his head, watching the lightning pierce through the dark clouds. Lightning, thunder. An idea struck him. Perhaps I can try using the lightning element, which was never mentioned in the book. If high temperature and rotation couldn't separate the medicinal residue, Leon thought of trying a different approach with the lightning element. Coincidentally, his expertise lay in lightning magic. Without hesitation, he held a test tube in one hand and emitted a faint blue light with the other. Despite his weakened state, a small-scale lightning spell was within his capabilities. Leon, skilled in the delicate control of lightning, had always admired its versatility. While primarily used for offense, proper control could make it suitable for more precise tasks. The powdered medicinal ingredients inside the test tube began to react. Leon's eyes lit up. It really works. He wanted to increase the infusion of magical energy but realized his frail body could only sustain this level for now. The magic, which was once powerful enough to torment enemies, now felt like a mere tickle. Leon sighed quietly, accepting that he could only proceed slowly. After about 40 minutes, the powdered medicinal ingredients in the test tube were distinctly separated into 2 layers. Crafting this small pill with minimal resources and a basic setup, Leon marveled at the makeshift process. He held the pill between his index finger and thumb, examining it carefully. Medicine for the dragon race, it's quite simple to make. As he marveled, a knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. It was Mune. "Dad," she exclaimed happily, raising her arms as if asking to be held. Leon bent down, scooping her into his arms. "Good morning, Mune. What brings you here?" "My sister said she's going for physical training today, so Daddy should have free time." "Mune came to find you." Leon smiled. Mune had been absent during the day except for dinner, likely not wanting to disrupt his teaching schedule.
Who said only the elder daughter was thoughtful? This little one was just as considerate.
Leon carried Myun into the room, and the two chatted about the interesting things that had happened over the past few days. As they talked, Myun sniffed the air.
Daddy, why does your room smell like medicine?
Leon was momentarily speechless.
Were dragon noses really that sensitive?
Yesterday, Rosweiss had noticed the smell, and now Myun had too.
There's no medicine smell, Myun. You must be mistaken, Leon said.
But Myun stubbornly shook her head.
No, I'm not wrong. There's definitely a medicine smell.
She jumped down from Leon's lap, followed the scent to the drawer, and pulled it open.
Leon wanted to stop her, but it was too late. Myun took out the dragon strength tonic Leon had just crafted, tilted her head, and asked, Daddy, what's this? Is it chocolate candy?
Seeing her excitement, Leon quickly walked over and gently held her small hand.
This isn't chocolate candy. Then what is it? Leon's mind raced as he tried to come up with a reasonable explanation.
After a moment of hesitation, he spoke seriously.
This is medicine I made for Mom. Myun's eyes widened. Medicine for Mom? Is she sick? No, Mommy isn't sick.
She's just been working too hard lately, so Daddy made this to help her relax.
I'll give it to her tonight. Myun nodded solemnly. Daddy, you must take good care of Mommy, okay? Yes, Daddy will.
The two chatted a bit more before Myun skipped away, mentioning that she didn't want to disturb Leon while he was busy with Noah's studies.
Leon's heart warmed.
This little dragon daughter really knew how to tug at his heartstrings. The rain intensified steadily. Leon lay at the head of the bed, one hand behind his head, the other tossing and catching a small transparent box containing long dolly.
Most of the dragon race's unique foods were beyond human tolerance.
Leon, having been rigorously trained since childhood, could handle a few dragon peppers without issue.
But this dragon race nutritional supplement. What if the effects were too strong for his body to handle? Could it backfire and worsen his condition instead of helping him recover?
Leon sighed, tilting his head back and gazing at the ceiling. As he wrestled with his thoughts, he heard the door open. Without looking, he knew who had come.
Hi, Your Majesty, Leon said.
Rosweiss chuckled softly. I heard from Myun that you made a special medicine for me, something like chocolate candies, to help regulate my body.
But I know it's actually for yourself, right? Leon immediately dropped his nonchalant demeanor, sitting up straight and looking serious. Don't be nervous. I'm not here to interrogate you. I'm just surprised you could concoct such a rare medicine in such a simple environment. I've never seen anything like it. Can you show it to me? Rosweiss's tone was sincere, her approach genuine. She could have easily taken the medicine by force, but she chose to ask instead. Leon hesitated for a moment before retrieving the long dolly from under the pillow.
Rosweiss took it, examining it carefully in her palm. Seeing the real and effective long dolly, she acknowledged Leon's talent.
Leon felt a flicker of pride.
Rosweiss, noticing his satisfaction, smiled inwardly.
Manipulating this little fool is too easy.
A few compliments, and he's all confused. Of course, her praise had been genuine. Leon, momentarily stunned, rubbed his nose, unaccustomed to Rosweiss's generosity. But her next words brought him back to reality.
However, you can't take this medicine. It's not suitable for you. Leon raised an eyebrow. Why?
As a supplement for the dragon race, its effects are too intense for the human body. You won't be able to withstand it, Rosweiss explained, her tone serious. If you want to restore your body's functions quickly, I can have Anna prepare a different type of nutritional supplement for you. She paused, then added, there's never been a precedent for humans taking dragon medicine. Her warning was well-intentioned, but Rosweiss overlooked one thing: Leon, as a dragon slayer, would never easily admit defeat in front of a dragon.
I'm not trying to harm you, Leon.
You can keep this medicine, but your human body won't be able to endure it.
Rosweiss, Leon interrupted. You promised me you wouldn't let me die, right? Leon said. Actually, I was still hesitating about taking this medicine. But after hearing what you said, I've made up my mind. What about the power of the dragon? I've defeated countless dragon kings. A small pill is nothing I can't handle. Rossweiss, don't underestimate me. Courage is the anthem of humanity.
He seemed to care deeply about Rossweiss' opinion of him.
Leon, you. Click.
He placed the pill in his mouth, bit down, and swallowed. The pill slid down his throat into his stomach.
For 2 seconds, there was silence.
Then, Leon felt a burning sensation in his stomach.
Plop. He clutched his stomach, half kneeling as the burning sensation spread throughout his body. A powerful force surged through him, as if trying to shatter every vein and bone.
He gritted his teeth, enduring the pain without making a sound. Rossweiss hurried to his side, crouching down and placing her hand on his shoulder. Gentle magical energy flowed from her palm into Leon's body, attempting to help him break down the potent effects of the pill. This was the first time the Silver Dragon Queen had used healing magic, and she was doing so to assist her archenemy.
Leon?
Leon, she called, her voice trembling slightly. She gently shook his shoulder, but he kept his eyes closed, his expression contorted in pain.
Since awakening, Leon had displayed self-destructive tendencies.
If not for his daughters, he might have found ways to end his life long ago. Seeing that her healing magic was ineffective, Rossweiss stood up, intending to find a dragon healer. But before she could leave, Leon grabbed her wrist. Rossweiss turned back, and Leon remained kneeling, one hand gripping her wrist, the other covering his stomach.
Watch closely, Silver Dragon Queen. This is the courage and determination of humans.
Click, click. The hand covering his stomach emitted a faint blue electric light, and Leon's body trembled slightly.
Rossweiss' eyes widened. Are you using lightning magic on your own body? You're insane, Leon.
Despite her words, she crouched beside him, supporting his shoulders and providing comfort. At the same time, she used her magical energy to help him disperse the surging force within his body. Unconsciously, she hugged him tightly, feeling his pain and trembling. After a moment, Leon's trembling ceased, and the electric light from the lightning magic gradually dissipated. He took a brief rest and then clenched his fist. It was the familiar power. Seeing this, Rossweiss breathed a sigh of relief. However, she didn't offer congratulations or express joy for Leon. Instead, she wiped the sweat from her forehead and suddenly realized their embrace might have seemed intimate. Hastily, she stood up and took a couple of steps back. Seeing that Leon was fine, Rossweiss turned to leave. But as soon as she did, she felt someone grab her tail. With a dark expression, she turned back, gritting her teeth. Let go, you jerk. Leon, with a dizzy smile and a vacant gaze, looked up at her. His face was slightly flushed, as if he had consumed too much alcohol. It was as if he had fallen under some illusionary magic. In Leon's eyes at that moment, Rossweiss was no longer the noble and aloof Silver Dragon Queen. She sat beside him with a sweet and gentle smile, like a long-married couple. And then, his next words were even more explosive. Where are you going? My wife?